Welcome to the Man 360 podcast.
So thank you for joining us for the Man 360 podcast. I'm your host, Brian. We always encourage you to connect with us on Facebook and on our Instagram account at man360.tv. Go to the website as well at man360.tv. And today on the program, I am so excited to sit down with my friend, Jimmy Seitz.
Glad to be here, man.
Jimmy, I always look forward to hanging out with you because, we've been to your house and we've been with your family. And we just feel like we're family.
We've thrown axes together.
We've thrown axes.
Shot arrows together.
We actually...
And the UPS driver.
Yeah, I was going to... Oh, man, you pulled my thunder. So, but this is totally not about the book. We're going to talk about his book, Decoys of Deception, here in a minute. But we were there out at his house, and we had this Amazon, or I think it was an Amazon driver.
Yeah,
that was dropping off some packages.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, the consummate pastor, connector person, asked this girl, he's like, hey, do you want to shoot it was a crossbow, right?
Yeah, crossbow deer target.
Yeah, crossbow to deer target. And she's like, sure. So we won't give her name because she'd probably get in trouble with Jeff Bezos and Amazon. So she comes out and she shoots this this crossbow. And I'm sure she went back to work and she's like, guess what I did today?
That's
and they're
right.
like, you delivered packages. Like, no, I'm gonna go to. So I don't know if you had anybody else come to the house. They're like, I want to deliver to Jimmy Seitz' house because I want to go shoot a crossbow with the family. So yeah,
we had a guy who came at 4 a.m. because my wife got an early delivery.
Oh,
and she didn't tell me. So that was a totally different story that did not involve a crossbow.
Yeah.
And I'll shut up. Yeah.
Yeah, that one didn't involve niceties and pleasantries.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
So today, Jimmy, I want to talk about your new book, Decoys of Deception.
Yeah.
And maybe the best question to start with is why and what was the motivation for writing the book about the origins of evil? I mean, it's really kind of a dark subject.
It
You
is.
want to write about happy,
Very dark.
flowery stuff, but you got to
Scary
get to the
subject,
good
man.
stuff. So
Yeah.
share a little bit about that.
Well, when I was in my 20s, I was going through my graduate program and my doctorate program into my early 30s, and I wrote a book then that was called "Satan Stole the Show." So that was kind of when I was getting interested in it, and I was studying the original languages of Greek and Hebrew, but especially Hebrew. And I remember I spent a year really deeply into the Hebrew, reading in the Hebrew Bible. And I did not find the word Satan until I got to Numbers 22:22. It's not in the garden, not in Genesis, nowhere. And I'm thinking, whoa, what's going on here?
Interesting.
So I began to do this deep dive study that I've done now for 4 decades. And it's 3.5 decades. And it's just been fascinating. And what I've discovered is this, Brian: the word Satan, as we know it, as we understand it, appears 39 times in the Old Testament. But here's the catch. The first time it appears is in Numbers 22:22, Balaam and the donkey. Remember that one?
Yes.
And Balaam is like, beating the crud out of this donkey, and that's the angel of Yahweh appears. Okay?
Right.
Guess what the Hebrew is? A Satan appears. It's just an adversary. That's all it means. Satan means adversary.
Yeah.
And it can be a human. It usually is. And so I'm like, whoa. It's not even a capital S. And so a lot of translations just say, it's an angel of the Lord or an adversary.
Yeah.
But they don't attribute it to Satan because it's not Ha-Satan. So 19 times in the Old Testament, you have a Satan, which is adversary, typically an angel of the Lord, coming like the one that killed 70,000 after David numbered Israel and he had to pick. And so the 70,000 were killed by an angel sent from God, an adversary, Satan, according to Chronicles.
Wow.
Well, then you find the one Ha-Satan, and you're going to find that 20 times, a Satan 19 times, Ha-Satan, the Satan, capital S, 20 times in the Old Testament, 17 times in Job 1 and 2, 3 times in Zechariah.
Yeah.
Now, there are more references to Satan as an entity and an evil being, like the evil spirit that came on Saul, a dark spirit, that kind of thing. Beelzebub in the New Testament.
Yeah. Beelzebub. Is that how you say it in
exactly.
Tennessee?
Yeah,
Beelzebub.
But seriously, I mean, there are a lot of references to him where his name doesn't appear. But when I began to see that, and I'm thinking, well, then why do so many Christians believe that Satan appears in the garden? Well, he does, but he's not named.
Right.
He's not named.
Right.
And if I ask 100 people before they heard me say that, where is the first time that you find Satan mentioned in the Bible? 99 out of 100, if not 100 out of 100, would say in the garden. He's not mentioned. And so I began to question, therefore, which I think is healthy, everything that I've been told.
Yeah.
And I believe what's happened is this. We've grown up with a very undereducated, misperception of Satan.
Yeah.
And that's why there are images in our minds about him being in a red suit with a red pitchfork, almost like a comic figure.
Right.
He's not going to dress that way.
No.
That's the last thing he's going to do. That came
Right.
out of the medieval ages, out of
Right.
the plays that the Catholic Church put on to entertain people because
Right.
they didn't have television. And so as I began to deep dive this and get into it, and I began to look at the origin of evil, I ran across all the various names
Mhm.
of the evil one.
Yeah.
Where do we get the word devil? That doesn't even appear until the Septuagint, 250 BC, and it's diabolos. And then the word devil is a
Mhm.
Middle English word. And Martin Luther, uses it in the 1500s,
Yeah.
Devel, like Corella Deville. Deville.
Really?
Well, it's similar
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
but,
evil.
and then now in our English translations, it's devil. So and then of course Lucifer. I thought Lucifer applied to Satan, and yet in my study it doesn't. And so
Wow.
I'm going through all these various ones. Who is Mastema? Who is Azazel?
Mhm.
And it's just crazy how much the church has not taught about Satan. And yet
Yeah.
we focus so much on God, which we should, but so little on Satan, which is bad, because if we're gonna live our life for God, we have to understand that there is an entity that is extremely powerful, much more
Yeah.
so than we are, that's going to try to keep us from doing that.
Well, and it's interesting because I think what happens by not, and I think this is anything in the church, if you don't share correct theology or even where the church stands, and I think this is even on some social issues,
Yeah.
it's like then there's always that defense being played and
Yep.
there's a vacuum that has to be filled. So
Right.
people fill that with their own imagination, their own things like
Yes.
that, and have that kind of deception
Yep.
to not understand really what that is. And it can look like, oh, Jimmy's glorifying the devil by talking about these things. And it's like, no, it's really understanding the foundational root. Because I think too, sometimes we look at the devil as like a caricature,
Mhm.
right? He's like a cartoon, and especially
Right.
like in our media, I do television,
Yeah.
so it's like we're build these archetypes of what you see these things,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like if you realize the level of deception and the level of the fine tuning that the devil does to deceive us,
Yeah.
and I really think your book talks about that. It really talks about the importance of understanding and recognizing these, and you talk a lot about different animal situations and different hunt situations
Yep.
and different things where you're like, if you really understand this, it's like it will help you actually live your more pursuit to God because you understand how much the devil hates you.
Well, see, that's the uniqueness of the book. There are other books about Satan.
Right.
There are academic works that are extremely boring, and yet somebody like me, I'll dig into them. But very few other people will. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially the folks that live in the common, that are. I'm going to say this correctly. The folks that work factory jobs and are school
Yeah.
teachers, et cetera, and they're not theologians that teach on an academic level, at least at college, are
Right.
not going to read those kind of books.
Right.
So I wanted to write a book that was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And so it includes a lot of stories. I wanted to write a book that is educational. And so, yeah, it does include, college level, I would even go so far as to say doctorate level stuff.
I agree.
And there is some original languages, but I always explain it so that as Marshall Keeble once said, this old black preacher back in the 40s, loved the guy. He said, always get the hay down where the calves can eat it too. Okay. And that's what I'm doing. Even when I
That's
fly
really
a Hebrew
good.
bird.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marshall Keeble, for that.
Yeah.
And so I'm writing educationally so that people can really glean a lot educationally. I feel like, man, I've taken a deep course on,
Yeah.
the origin of evil and the origin of Satan and the demonic realm, et cetera. But at the same time, I don't want it just to be a dark study. And so I also apply the chess game of the ages, and that is how that God out-deceives the great deceiver.
Yeah.
God is the greatest deceiver.
Playing
Of all.
sixth dimension, or talk about the sixth dimension too, but
That's
it's like,
correct.
like the other
correct.
dimension where God is operating in these
Oh
things that
my
we don't even
goodness,
realize.
it's unreal. And Satan is such a powerful, malevolent being that it was a real strategic stress game. I'm sorry, it was a very strategic chess game.
Yeah.
And as a result, God had to hide moves. He had to,
Yeah.
and because it's a very, very strong demonic realm, and that's what we don't really fully understand. But God is more powerful. God is greater. God is the one that's omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, all of those things, and Satan is not.
Yeah.
And so God played that chess game perfectly so that in the end, when Satan thought he had won, And that's the end. That's the closing part of the book, the whole section that just kept growing and growing. I was supposed to write 225 pages.
That's
I wrote
a pre-version.
336.
Yeah, that's the pre-version I got. I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
like, I saw the final version that April sent over to me. I was like, holy moly,
It kept
this is a
growing
whole
and
nother
kept growing.
book.
But here's why. I didn't want it to be a dark book.
Yeah.
It
had
starts
to
out
have some-
fun with
yeah.
Bill Robertson hunting and all that, and by analogy leads into the dark section when we begin to really do the deep dive study on Satan, et cetera,
Yeah.
and the underworld, and what he did and how he hunted then and how he hunts now. And then it moves into a very practical section on here's what he's doing currently, moralistically in our society,
Yeah.
to our country, to our churches, to our families, to our marriages, to
Yeah.
us individually, to our children.
Progressive,
And so-
this progressive Christians,
Progressive Christianity.
section.
I take it on. I
Yeah.
take on the division in politics. I take on the stuff that's going on in our marriages. Why we have a 46% divorce rate in the country.
Yeah.
I take on what's happening to us individually as we're being desensitized. We're being distracted and desensitized so that Satan can divide us from our relationships that are so important. He's
Yeah.
working division. It's like a wedge that you use like a maul. Have you ever used a maul
Yep.
to bust
Yeah,
wood?
bust wood up.
Yeah.
It's like a sledgehammer, but it's shaped like has
That's
an
right.
axe end on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a wedge that you can use that you can turn the maul around to the fat end and hit the wedge. So let's say that you need to get a crack started, then put that little wedge just in that crack and hit it really hard with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have a maul. You just use the sledgehammer and the wedge. Man, you'll split that wood completely in two. And that's what Satan is doing. He's trying to start a crack or find a crack, and he's going to start inserting that wedge. He's going to use a maul. He's going to absolutely split us in our marriages and everything else. We've got to know those tactics.
Yeah, the book reminded me of some of the interesting on the headier end of it, like some of the Neil T. Anderson stuff.
Yeah.
That's a total compliment too, because I love Neil
appreciate
T.
that.
Neil T.
Me
Anderson
too.
has a lot,
Thank you.
like so many great foundational books, and as I read it, it was like, this could really be just like a workbook, really, for you when you deal with some of these things, and to refresh your mind. I think sometimes we have a really short memory, when God wants to help show us something, especially when it comes to deception of the devil.
Yeah.
Because I think, and I still believe, we don't curse the darkness, we light a light. We don't go to walk into a room and it's dark and say, oh, darkness, get out of here. It's like we just turn on a light switch. But I think there's also something too that we don't talk about in the church. And that is, how do we line our free will and our flesh up with the Word of God?
Yeah.
And when you recognize how much the devil hates us, because, and this I've preached this before too, the devil doesn't actually hate us. He hates God so much that he hates us.
That's
We're
right.
made in God's image.
What better way to hurt the father than to hurt
the son, than hurt
right.
the kids? And it's like, so I really feel like and if you're listening to this, and you're like, I just thought this was going to be like just a little Tennessee hick, country boy talking.
Oh, I'm that too.
Oh no. And it was like the Ricky Skaggs song, Country Boy at Heart, like I may look like a city slicker shining up through the shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Jimmy and I just really, again, appreciate you thinking of all audiences. We really think about who's going to be listening and, being able to read this. So, and you touched on it a little bit, the progressive Christianity. I want to go a little bit into that.
Yeah.
Is because I don't want to give away too much of the book, because I want people to get it and read it and enjoy it. But just talking about progressive Christianity and the culture that we live in right now, because I think sometimes it could be where we can be perceived as hating people that disagree with us, right? That culture. If you disagree with me, then you hate my guts. You want me to die.
The labeling and the bigoted,
Right.
judgmental, all that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
it's happening.
So it's like, how do we get over that? How maybe this book really can help us to be able to recognize what these deceptions are, these decoys are.
I name them as tactics of Satan
Mhm.
and his strategies, hunting strategies, strategy 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Yep.
These are all tactics of Satan, and he's trying to bring division within the church, and he's done it. And it started in the first century, and that's why there is a section of the book. After we really study Satan and the demonic realm and how he works, then we go, okay, now let's look at modern culture and what's he doing today?
The implementation.
That's
of those
correct.
Things. Yeah,
And this
you
is
can't stay in the Bible realm, and you're like, that's Bible time.
Exactly.
It's like, no, it's now.
It is now, and we have to be aware of the fact that there is a sixth dimension happening of spirituality. We live in the 5 senses, but there's a sixth sense, and that is the spirituality sense. In other words, there's another realm happening around us. If we could open our eyes and see who was in the room with us right now,
It's true.
I would want to see the guardian angel looking like a human, not like an angel really looks like, because it would scare me to death, and I would be on my face like Joshua.
Your guardian angel may be a little haggard, though, all the weaponry and everything else.
Who knows?
Napping your ankle, everything.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. But then at the same time, if we saw who was on the periphery trying to get to us.
Yeah.
Oof, I don't know if we
And
could survive it.
I think too,
Yeah.
it helps you respect the spiritual. I know this is going to sound kind of maybe a little strange, but I don't know. Sometimes how my brain works. It's like you appreciate the protection of God when you understand the hate of the devil.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
It helps you be able to realize and go, yeah, I said my prayers, good bread, good meat, good Lord, let's eat, rub a dub dub, God
Yeah.
bless the grub, those kind of prayers. And it's like, God, I thank you. I appreciate how much protection you bring for
Oh,
me, knowing how
absolutely.
evil and how much smarter the devil is I am without you.
See, we're living at a superficial level. Most
Yeah.
Christians live at a very, very superficial
Yeah.
level. We don't have a clue really what's truly going on
Yeah.
and what it's really like. And that's why in this book I took liberties to write a few chapters like a producer of a movie
Yep.
or a script writer.
Yeah, you did.
And I say that I'm doing that. And I wanted to paint what I feel like Satan really looks like and what it was like when he thought that he killed Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
And he thought it was his doing. All the while he was out deceived by the
Right.
great, God.
Right.
And so I paint him as the seven-headed dragon at that point from Revelation because
Yep.
there's no need any longer for him to be disguised as an angel of light
Right.
with his demons as servants of righteousness.
Yeah.
That was Paul writing. Now he can just reveal who he really is. So he's the seven-headed dragon, and he's having a party at the foot of the cross.
Right.
After the 3 hours of darkness and
Right.
Jesus died. See, God's letting him have the time. He's
Right.
letting him have
It's
the
like
place.
you just
He's
enjoy
giving him,
yourself.
have
You
your party,
go
buddy.
have your party.
And he is like, fire's coming out of his mouth. I mean, that's who Satan is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's holding stars in his hand, so to speak.
Right.
Well, anyway, or his tail, I think,
Yeah,
knocked
tail.
out. Yeah, that's what it was. Jesus
Yep.
is holding the stars in seven
Right.
stars in Revelation. And so I go into John. I go into to show John as a young apostle in the garden and all of that and all he saw, and then I show what he wrote in 1st and 2nd John and 3rd John.
Need more
Third
Johns,
John and
basically. It was
specific.
funny.
Yeah, because John was one of the best friends of Jesus, and
Yeah.
he was close to him, and he's the only apostle that was not martyred, as far as we know, even
Yeah.
though he was persecuted.
Mhm.
And he wrote in his old age. And 2nd and 3rd John deal with the church that we call progressive Christians today because it was Gnosticism,
Yep.
and a branch of that was Docetism. And the book explains what those were. And the progressive Christian movement today,
Yep.
they think, well, we're progressive because we have
We're
advanced.
smarter and we
We're
love
smarter,
you. We
yada,
love people
yada.
more than those old fuddy duddies that just follow
Yeah,
an
you
old storybook.
old school people. Let me
You
explain
mentioned Mark
something, man.
Driscoll in there too. You mentioned
Yes.
kind of that mentality, and you weren't calling out anybody. You were just saying this is what he has said. Being on, I think it was on Oprah. You mentioned that too.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was Bell. Rob
Oh,
Bell.
that's Rob Bell. That's
Rob
right.
Bell. Yes. Yeah, and I did call him out
Yeah.
because it was very open
Bad.
about it, and so I called him and his wife out in the
Yep.
book. And I typically don't do that, but we have to be aware of the fact that there's this massive following
Yeah.
of him and others, men and women, that believe this progressive Christianity thing is the way to go. It is nothing more than a regurgitation of Gnosticism and Docetism.
Yeah.
There's nothing new about it
It's
whatsoever.
repackaging and just
That's
kind
it.
of putting it in
That's all
a
it
new
is.
wrapper,
It's
essentially
the
making it more
first
palatable.
Christian heresy
Yeah.
that has raised its ugly head back up.
Yeah.
And we need to understand it and we need to know about it. If you went to most pastors right now and you took a poll and said, tell me what progressive Christianity is. Are there any progressive churches around you? Most of them would not even know what it is.
Right. Or they
Man,
think,
I'm
yeah.
telling you, we need to understand what it is because they throw out the need for the justification of the cross. They throw out the physical bodily resurrection.
Yeah.
If you say, do you believe in hell? They'll say, oh, yeah, of course. Well, what is it? And you really press them. Well,
It's a
it's not a
principle.
place you go
Yeah.
to. It's how it's the guilt you feel
Feeling bad. Yeah.
for the bad decisions that you make.
Right. Right.
All right. The Greek word for that is baloney.
Yeah.
Okay. That is not correct.
Balogane. With an
So,
emphasis on the E.
yeah, exactly. The Hebrew word is hogwash. So I call it out.
Yeah.
I call out that. I
Yeah.
call out what's going on in politics because when you get into the political realm, you've got the Republicans and you've got the Democrats, and then you've got those that would be in the middle. And what would you call them?
I think
Independents or centrist?
yeah,
or-
like more libertarian, I guess, kind of
Okay.
more do what you want.
So
you
which
know?
one is right? There's people listening right now going, I'm a Republican. I'm going to be no
Yeah.
Democrat. And there are other people. Well, okay, look, here's the deal. There are extremisms no matter what.
Right.
There are right-wing extremists and left-wing extremists. And how do you know if you're an extremist? You look at the other party, anybody who doesn't think like you, and you cannot say a good prayer for them.
Yeah.
You hate them.
Yeah.
You say, if they get control, our country is doomed.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's an extremist, and we have them on both sides. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That's not
And
one side. It's not
no,
one
no, no,
side.
no,
Be like,
not at
yeah,
all.
winking at Jimmy, got that,
Yeah.
God bless.
So you have the centrist. Well, okay, so the centrists are going to try to get along with the right and get along with the left, which is a great idea. You want unity, but here's the problem. The centrist will come along and try to do that, and therefore they have to give in order to get.
Right.
And so they're not taking a stand for certain things they should be so that they can win on
Right.
other things that they feel more passionate about
Right.
it. Well, that's no way to do it. So why don't we just have a Christ-centric party?
Yeah.
And by that, it's not even a party. Just come at it as you're a Christ-centric politician, okay? In other words, you don't serve politics, okay? What you do is you serve Christ.
Right.
And you take a stand on what Christ says do, no matter what it costs you and no matter where it lines you up, which means that you're going to try to talk with everybody
Yeah.
on all sides and in the middle and love everyone and bring everyone to the table.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the decisions are about Christ. See that?
Yeah.
That's in this chapter as
Yeah.
well, because Satan is dividing our country right now through political schemes.
Yeah, and I think that the church, sadly, is buying into that because they will identify again with one party or the other,
That's right.
and
Which is illegal, by the way.
it is actually it's
According to the- okay.
illegal, and I
If you're a
think that
nonprofit.
it's destructive too because what
Yeah.
happens is that we lose and like you said, we lose our identity in Christ and our identity because, and I think too, some of that is, and I've said this before, some of where we are politically, I feel like is because it's again that vacuum that was filled because the
Yeah.
church didn't do what it was supposed to do
Yep.
and stand for the things that it needed to stand for, and it
Right.
became beyond the defense. It's like, well, I'm going to make my love for Trump or whatever my religion, right?
Yep.
That's I would die for that guy, right? He almost died for me. I will die for him, and
Mhm.
it's like, and I think even principles and things, and this is not a political statement really, but it's like, what are we doing to lift Christ up?
Yes.
And now, if there's someone who's doing something in the political realm that's making these decisions that's going to be able to reflect Christian values,
Yeah.
I celebrate that.
Absolutely.
I'm going to celebrate that, but I'm not going to wrap myself and entwine myself with something that's not the word.
I
I
heard
think that's
people
part of the
literally say,
deception.
Brian, that if so and so doesn't win this election, our country's doomed. Okay, we're done.
Yeah.
And that is placing way too much salvation.
Salvific. Is that
Yes,
actual word?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Unless I just made it up, but I've heard it before.
Salvificary.
I think it sounds good anyway. It's placing way too much
Yeah.
salvation potential in a human being.
Yeah.
Only God can
Yeah.
save our country.
Yeah.
Only God.
God
That's
did-
why He is the one that we need to be focusing
And
on.
God did use men through the. I mean, because he has to use us.
Absolutely.
Like he has to be able to
places
use us.
people in
He
authority.
places, and I think too, you look at good kings and bad kings to
Yeah.
move his agenda forward. If you look through that provenance of the Bible,
Right.
it wasn't always just a good king that God worked through. God worked through everybody.
Yep.
And when we don't, I think again, when we lose that, and I think we think it's back on, and it's almost where we start thinking that it's more our actions and our flesh to be able to
Yeah.
move and do these things.
You know what? Some listeners are going to hear this and go, "Oh man, I don't know if I want to read." Okay, that's the exact response I want, and
Right.
here's why. The whole idea of this book is, I do not expect you as the reader of this book or the study guide that goes with it, working through that.
Yeah.
I do not expect you to agree with me on all things.
Yeah.
That's not my intention.
Right.
I don't want my way.
What a novel thought.
I just want my say.
Right.
I've worked on this my whole life, and I want my say. I'm 63, and this is the seminal work of my life, and so I want you to read it. And here's the thing: I want you to start thinking for yourself. I don't want you to rest on what you've been taught about Satan and about the demonic realm and about the spiritual things and all of that.
Yeah.
I want you to dig into it. I want this thing to fire you up to the point that you're now on the radar and you're studying it and you're like, wow, okay, this is fascinating, because you're going to get into it and find things that you've never seen before, never heard before, and it's going to spur you to possibly do a lifelong study. Now, once you do that, then you have a much bigger awareness.
Yeah.
It's broadened your awareness of the superficial level we've been on, and it's time to get deeper.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope this book does.
Yeah, for sure.
For many people.
Well, real quick, I want to wrap this up, but I want you to share just a couple. Don't maybe not go through all of them, but just the the hunting for God strategies that you end with the book. And I mentioned that to you as well. If you think this book is going to be, and I won't mention the author, wrote a book about kind of like the spiritual realm, and it was like he spent 98% of the book talking about all the demonic and all the knowing every name of this to pray against this and do this, and at the very end it was like, and God's really cool.
Yes.
And that's the end of the book. And I'm like, You can't do that.
No, you got to have
So,
practicality in
and
it.
I think it was actually good that you had the time to be able to invest back in the rest of your to write the rest of the book, that you needed to be able to bring the encouraging to be like, this is the reason why we know the deception. So this is how we know we're going to try to hunt after God. So
Right.
maybe just share a couple of those.
Yeah,
points.
the chapter you're talking about is toward the end,
Yep.
and I'm looking at it. It starts on page 283, and I have 7 hunting strategies. 7 because it's God's perfect number.
Yes, I know.
My own hunting strategies, naturally, I'm going after the prey. I'm going to pray. And it talks about praying. And I think praying is so important because it's God, it's our answering God. Prayer is answer speech, not initiation of a conversation speech.
Correct.
God first spoke to us through his word.
Correct.
We're responding in prayer.
Yeah.
The second thing is that, and I want to get closer to God. I want to love him better. And in doing so, it's going to open up my ability to love other people better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to spend more time with God, not just praying to God.
Mhm.
Thirdly, is I am going to seek clarity and purpose for my mission. I call it spiritual awareness or missional closeness.
Yeah.
And I really, I'm going to be intentional about seeing everything I do as a mission for him. And if it doesn't fit in the category of a mission that's good for God, I'm not going to waste my time on it.
Right.
Okay. As we continue looking at the other things, let's see. I can't do all 7 because we're going to run out of time.
Yeah.
But that gives you an idea. I'll
Yep.
jump down to number 7. And some of these actually get a little bit longer as I flesh them all out. I am going to finish strong. I do believe that probably the biggest deception in my own life
Mhm.
currently is the fact that, when you live 6 decades, as I have, there's some loss. I've lost a best friend. I lost a brother and a sister that one before me, one after in early birth. I've lost a brother-in-law that was divorced, from my sister.
Yeah.
I've lost, and I could go on. I've lost jobs. I've, and now I'm starting to lose, and I can sense it. Some of my strength, some of my health. I don't have the same back that I used to have.
Mhm.
I hurt more. And
Yeah.
anybody in their 60s and 70s, you understand what I'm talking about
Yeah.
here. You're not there yet. You're still what, 32?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Thank you for that compliment.
but
I've lived
you don't
5
heal as
decades.
fast. So there's loss.
Yeah.
Okay. And some people have a whole lot more loss. There's financial loss. There was the year of COVID when we, almost went bankrupt, all this kind of stuff. And then also sexuality, it's not the same in your 60s as when you're 18, of course. I mean, it goes without saying. Let's just lay it out there.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking about, man, here I am caring for my elderly parent or in-law, and my father-in-law set 2 world aviation records. He wanted to be the first person to fly around the world nonstop, solo, non-refueling. Okay.
Wow.
And he went 72.4 hours practicing to do it and set 2 world aviation records. Now he has dementia. He's 84.
Yeah.
And he would like to be able to get to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
And so there's this loss of life, so to speak. And I'm moving closer to that if I live that long. And I'm wondering, am I going to have dementia? Am I going to lose the ability to write a book and to go and speak and to hunt and do all the stuff that
Yeah.
I love to do and be with my kids? And so there's loss everywhere.
Mhm.
All right. And so I think Satan will come in and pick up on that, and
Yeah.
he'll want me to really focus on that loss
Yep.
and feel that loss, because if that's where I operate, if that's the way I see the world, it's going to be a
Mhm.
negative viewpoint.
Yeah.
And so I have to remember that is Satan that is bringing those things to my mind.
Yeah.
And as a result, I have to focus on all of the gains,
Yeah.
and the gains far outweigh the losses.
Yep.
Okay. Admit the losses, they are real,
Mhm.
but understand that the world I want to live in and the lenses that I want to look through
Yeah.
are all of the positives, all of the beautiful relationships, not this friend that just decided to quit being my friend for whatever, who was like a brother to me,
Yeah.
or, whatever. No. I'm going to think about the friend that has been loyal his whole life to me.
Right.
And so it's a matter of choice and perspective.
Mhm.
And I think that helps us finish strong, keep our commitments, keep our vows, our marriage vows, everything,
Yeah.
and not get, just distracted and pulled away
Yeah.
and desensitized by Satan.
Decoyed.
That's right.
Decoyed
Like-
that
like-
deception.
Are you ready?
Yeah, here you go. You
Here
got
it
you had to
goes.
work it in, didn't you?
We got to close with
You got
it.
to
All right, you
close
ready?
it.
See,
That's not the squeaky table that we're sitting at.
That's hope.
That's
Here, you try it. That's going on right now. Here goes Brian. You're squeaking it too much. You're pushing it too hard. There you go. Now, and then you got this little slate call. You know what I'm telling her right there? That's a hen.
Honey, won't you open that door?
Well, actually, I'm saying no. There's a really good coffee shop, and the scones are good.
Now, like this.
Would
That's
you like for me to play
delicious.
some Marvin Gaye to the gobbler?
Yes.
Here's Marvin Gaye, and this is a mouth call. I said, "Come over here, big boy, because
All I heard was,
I'd like to go
oh,
on a
yeah.
date with you." Now I can fool the hen too. You want me to fool the hen? Here we go. You know what that is?
That's the sound of death.
That's a young child turkey going, "I'm lost, Mama. I'm lost." And she comes
and she
running.
runs over and she
I
eats
get the
the
hen in there, and then keep her in there, and she gets the gobbler in, and I
That's
kill him.
awesome.
There's a lot of tactics.
Yeah.
And turkey hunting season is on right now.
Oh, I know. You've been
I'm
talking about it.
Up with it, man.
Gonna have a turkey wrap when you get out of here.
I'll be fortunate to get home if there's one in the field somewhere. But no, seriously, that's what Satan's doing to us.
Yeah.
He knows what calls we like. He knows, and of course, the opening story of the blood, the blood knife.
Yeah, I've heard that
Man.
story before in the. Yeah, I'm not going to give it away because I want people to read it.
Yeah.
But that story is so profound. I remember I heard it when I was in Royal Rangers when I was a kid.
Yep.
And I remember that story, and it stuck with me my whole life.
Yep.
It's like the level of deception that you can end up being in and not realizing it.
Yep.
And actually bringing death on yourself. So I'd kind of a little cliffhanger for people to read the book.
Yep. It starts out with it.
So now I know you did a study guide as well with the
did.
books to kind of continue the conversation and keep people thinking about that. Just real quick, why don't you share about what the study guide is?
Yeah, very simply, the study guide is laid out, I believe, in 12 chapters.
Okay.
The book has 26, counting the prologue and the epilogue, something like that. But I'm suggesting in the study guide, okay, here you need to read the prologue in chapter 1 and 2.
Okay.
And then here's the study guide that goes along with that. And it has a lot of questions that you can use individually, or you can use it with your small group, your family, or a Bible class. And it has some more in-depth stuff to it. It really makes you think. And so then I'll say, okay, for the next session, you need to read, say, for example, chapters 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the study guide that goes with that. So you read the book in conjunction with the study guide.
Good, yeah.
And you glean a lot more out of it. I actually have a group of people at Northfield University where I teach that are adults that some of them were pre-readers that helped me with the book. And they went through the study guide with me. And we practiced it to see how it would work.
That's
that
great.
question doesn't work well. Well, let's add this. And they gave great suggestions. And so the study guide was kind of born of a group. And I'm really thankful to those people, as well as all my early readers that helped me a lot as well on the book.
That's
so
awesome.
The study guide, I think, is going to take it to the next level of practicality. Yeah. Because especially if you are in a small group, which I highly recommend that. Yeah. Be in a small group or in a Bible
be
class.
In a relationship.
If you spend a quarter, 12 weeks, so to speak, looking at this thing and studying it together, I can guarantee you're going to get a whole lot more out of it. Plus, I put stuff in the study guide additional that didn't make it into the book. It's kind of like, when we do a TV show,
it needed to be
we
War and
cut
Peace,
90% out of what we filmed.
Like a 500-page book.
Get the director's cut, and you'll see a few scenes that were deleted that were really actually good, So that's how the study guide worked.
That's awesome. Well. Now, I know that Amanda your wife did a bunch of drawings.
She did some, yeah.
Some of the drawings in the book.
one on Jericho. Oh my goodness, that was amazing.
Like it reminds me of, and I've been to your house, so I know her, Amanda's studio, and she's like, yeah, this just, where I throw some, oil on canvas or whatever, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, it's like Rembrandt. I was like,
amazing.
I mean, it's just so amazing. So, Jimmy, thanks for being on the program.
Oh, it's always a joy.
Yeah. It's always good to hang out with you.
Good to hang out with you. We got to throw axes again.
I know. Shoot, we need to invite more Amazon drivers over.
Yes.
Shoot across.
I got an idea. I'll get Amanda to draw or paint her image of the 7-headed Satan.
And we'll see the heads.
Hit every single head with an axe.
No, your son could. Oh my gosh, he's an amazing shot. So thank you for listening to this Man 360 podcast. Again, we encourage you to connect with us on all of our man360.tv outlets, on Instagram, on Facebook, on our website. And we will see you next time on Man 360 podcast. Thanks, Jimmy, for being here.
Absolutely.